Utah just ranked as one of the hottest housing markets for 2026. The job market is absolutely crushing it with a 3.3% unemployment rate, and people are flooding in from California, Texas, and everywhere in between. But here's what nobody's telling you about actually living there, and it could make or break your entire move. Look, you've probably heard the standard Utah pitch by now. Amazing outdoor recreation, low cost of living, family friendly, and the greatest snow on earth. And if you've done any research at all, you've seen the same recycled articles telling you to move to Salt Lake City or Park City without any real depth on what actually means for your specific situation. Maybe you've talked to a friend who moved here and they either love it or they left after just a couple of years because they just didn't feel like they fit in. Here's the problem. Okay, so most Utah relocation guides treat it like a brochure. Pretty pictures, generic stats, zero nuance. But Utah isn't one place. It's actually 5 or 6 completely different living experiences depending on where you land. The person who thrives in St. George would be miserable in Park City. The career opportunities in the Silicon Slopes Tech Corridor don't exist in Ogden. And that affordable cost of living? Well, it depends entirely on which city and which neighborhood within that city that you choose. I'm going to give you something a little bit different today. Over the past several months, I've dug into the latest 2026 housing market projections from the National Association of Realtors, current job data from Utah's Department of Workforce Services, tax structure analysis from the Tax Foundation, and real neighborhood level insights that most content creators skip entirely. This is an opinion. This is a decision framework built on data so you can make an informed choice about whether Utah is actually the right place for you. Here's exactly what we're covering over the next 30 minutes or so. First, I'm breaking down the real cost of living in Utah for 2026 and why comparing averages is actually hurting your planning. Second, we're diving into the job market and career opportunities, including which industries are booming and which areas to target based on your particular profession. Third, I'll show you Utah's tax structure and how it actually compares to wherever you're coming from. This one surprises most people, so this is one to pay attention to. Fourth, we're doing a city-by-city breakdown so you can match your lifestyle priorities to the right location. And fifth, I'm covering the things that Utah guides simply won't tell you, the cultural considerations, weather realities, and hidden challenges that you need to prepare for. And finally, I'll give you a complete relocation timeline so you can execute the move without chaos, but with clarity. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with the question everyone asks first. Can I actually afford to live in Utah? The answer is nuanced, and the numbers I'm about to show you will completely change how you think about this. And here's the reality. Utah's cost of living index sits at approximately 95.8 as of late 2025. That's actually below the national average of 100. So for just a quick comparison, let's compare that to other neighboring states. California is 139.8, Colorado is 105, Arizona is 102, and just to remind you, Utah's at 95.8. But here's where most guides fail you. They give you that statewide average and they just move on. The truth is this: median home prices in Utah, while they're around $530,000 to $580,000 depending on the area, and the average rent for a 2-bedroom unit is approximately $1,800, $1,850 per month, and the utilities here are about $85 to $90 per month on average for each particular type of utility. Now granted, there's so much nuance in that, but that gives you a little bit of a taste to kind of look at the overall cost of living with respect to utilities. And for groceries, for the average family, you're going to spend around $566 per month. Now, you've got to be conservative to be able to pull that off. You can't just go buy anything you want. You have to be mindful that you have a budget. Now, these numbers shift dramatically by location. For example, Salt Lake City median home prices are about $587,000, while Park City's median home prices are anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million or more. And if you want something more affordable, the Ogden median home price is right around $420,000, while moving down to southern Utah in St. George, it varies greatly there as well, but you're going to be close to $600,000 there as well. And so, all of these different areas throughout the state, they can vary widely. And there's more affordable areas than just Salt Lake City. For example, Eagle Mountain and newer developments offer entry-level pricing with huge appreciation potential. This is why you can't just Google Utah cost of living and call it research. Okay, next up, how to do it. Here's the framework that I want to use. Step number 1 is calculate your actual housing budget. Your monthly housing rent or mortgage payment should be no more than 28 to 30% of your gross monthly income. If you're making $85,000 per year, that's about $1,980 per month max for housing. Or if you want to just make it a simple number, think $2,000 per month. This tells you immediately whether you're looking at Salt Lake, the suburbs, or more affordable areas up in northern Utah or perhaps out west. Step number 2 is factor in your commute tolerance. Living in Eagle Mountain saves you potentially $200,000 on a home, but you're adding about 45 minutes to your Salt Lake commute each way. Calculate the true cost, gas, wear on your vehicle, the time value, and many people find that paying more to live closer actually ends up saving you money. Step number 3, use the Utah multiplier. Take your current monthly expenses, multiply housing by whatever difference is between your current area and Utah. Keep the utilities and groceries roughly similar or slightly lower. This gives you a very realistic monthly projection. Okay, so why does this all matter? Well, here's why getting this right is so critical. I've seen people move to Utah expecting California-level housing pain and ending up with way more house than they planned. I've also seen people assume Utah's cheap, and they get completely blindsided when they realize that Salt Lake City, well, it's not exactly a budget market anymore. The housing market is projected to stabilize through 2026 and possibly tick upward just a little bit. Inventory is increasing, and here's the exciting part. The National Association of Realtors noted that listings aligned with area incomes increased by over 20% recently in Salt Lake City. That's one of the biggest improvements in the entire country. And the translation is this: more homes are becoming available at prices real people can actually afford. But here's the key insight. Affording Utah is only half of the equation, because even if you can pay for it, the real question is, can you earn enough here to actually build the life you want? And Utah's job market right now, well, it's doing something that very few states can claim. So let's talk job market and career opportunities. Utah's unemployment rate at the end of 2025, well, it sat at 3.3%, while the national average is 4.2%. But that's not even the impressive part. What Utah is doing with job growth and salary potential is why people in tech, healthcare, financial services, and advanced manufacturing are paying attention to Utah. So let me break down what's actually happening in Utah. And here's the numbers. Utah added approximately 21,800 jobs in 2025 alone. The total employment here, nearly 1.8 million jobs statewide. And for every unemployed person, there are approximately 1.3 job openings. So job openings in June of 2025, for example, was 77,000 open positions. And the industries that are driving all of this, leading the way, is of course technology. Silicon Slopes is kind of the moniker that Utah's adopted, ranks #1 nationally for projected tech occupation growth. And there's a 33% increase projected from 2024 through 2034. Salt Lake City ranked among national hotspots for AI-related job postings as well, and the average software developer's salary in Utah is approximately $116,800. Now granted, AI could make a lot of these jobs disappear, so we've got to watch this one closely. And the tech sector generated an estimated $22.5 billion in economic impact last year in Utah. Data centers are booming here in Utah as well. The Salt Lake region is projected for nearly 700% growth in data centers by 2030. Now, this is debatable whether or not data centers actually provide a lot of jobs, but it's something to pay attention to. And next, healthcare and life sciences education and health services led job growth with 20,000 jobs added. Utah's BioHive community expanded rapidly, strong demand for biomanufacturing technicians, quality specialists, and clinical roles are really all over the place. And beyond tech and healthcare, we also have a very strong advanced manufacturing and aerospace and defense/semiconductor industry here that's surging along Utah's tech corridor. The defense contractors are establishing a presence here. Wages are significantly above the state averages as well. This is really helping Utah's economy boom. And next, we have other things, including tourism and outdoor activities and recreation, leisure, and hospitality. 4,200 jobs were added last year, year over year, and tourism continues to drive employment in Park City, in Moab, and the St. George areas. And if St. George in southern Utah is your cup of tea, rapidly growing healthcare needs with retiring population is the key in St. George. If you're in manufacturing in the trades, northern Utah, Ogden, Clearfield areas, these are really strong for these types of jobs. And they have a very strong aerospace presence as well, with Northrop Grumman being one of the major employers up there as well. And just overall, skilled trades are in really high demand with competitive wages. And if you have a really good job search strategy, start networking right now before you make the move. Go on LinkedIn and set up job alerts for Utah, plus your particular specialty. And I would recommend targeting companies with remote first or hybrid policies. Consider that Utah employers love hiring people who've already committed to relocating. It really shows you're serious. And for salary negotiation insights, the information sector pays 47.6% above Utah's statewide average wage. And if you're in tech, don't accept below market. The demand supports strong negotiation here in Utah. Now, here's the larger story. Utah isn't just growing, it's diversifying. 10 years ago, it was all about finance and maybe some tech jobs. Now you have semiconductors, AI, life sciences, aerospace, and clean energy all competing for talent. Why does this matter for you? Well, economic resilience. When one sector cools, others pick up the slack. You're not putting your career on a single industry bet here. And here's something the data shows. Utah's economy expanded by 4.5% in 2024 and just under that in 2025. And the state-led national job growth at the end of Q3 of 2025, it was outpaced here in Utah as well. That momentum is carrying all the way into 2026. The population here is approaching 3.6 million people, with strong in-migration just continuing to move on. More people equals more services equals more jobs in every single sector. And this is important. Career opportunity doesn't exist in a vacuum. Okay, next, let's talk about taxes and the financial reality of living in Utah. And I'm going to give you the complete tax picture here in just the next few minutes. Income tax, property tax, sales tax, and that one thing Utah does that almost no other state does anymore. You need to know this before you move. First off, let's talk income tax. Utah has a flat income tax of just over 4.5%. As of June of 2025, it was reduced just slightly. This applies to all income levels equally, and there are no local income taxes on top of the state income tax. And when you compare that to other states like California, their top rate is 13.3%. Texas, of course, has no income tax, which is awesome, but they do make up for it in other ways because, let's be honest, the government and Uncle Sam, they're going to get their share one way or the other. And if we move to the east in Colorado, they have a 4.4% flat tax. Arizona is 2.5%. So Utah kind of fits somewhere in the middle with most of these states. And next up, let's talk property taxes. The effective property tax rate here in Utah is approximately 0.47% of the value of your home. If you think of it really in simple terms, it's 0.5% of your home. So if you own a $500,000 home, your taxes are roughly $2,500 per year. And this property tax is amongst the lowest in the entire country. This is a really good thing. But it does vary by county. For example, Rich County has the lowest rate at 0.29%, and Summit County, where Park City is located, is the highest at 0.84%. And moving on, let's talk sales tax. The state base rate for sales tax is 4.85%, but once you combine it with the local taxes, the averages come out to be about 7.3%, and they can go up to 8.45% in some areas. Now, the surprise, Utah taxes Social Security benefits. This one's a kicker. Utah is one of the few states that still does this. Your Social Security income is taxed at the same 4.5% rate as all of your other income. But there's a tax credit available that can offset some or all of this depending on your income. For example, singles making under $54,000 or married couples that are making under $72,000 filing jointly can get that full credit. Here's how to actually calculate your Utah tax impact. Step 1, income tax comparison. Take your current state income tax burden, calculate this one at 4.5% of your expected Utah income. The difference is your income tax impact, whether it be positive or negative. For example, if you have a $100,000 per year income and Utah's income tax is going to be $4,500, compare that to where you're sitting currently from the state that you're moving from. So if you're coming from California, for example, that California tax on that same income could be $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 or more. Next, step number 2, property tax calculation. Take your expected home value, multiply it by 0.47% or your specific county rate. There are small variations. So for example, a $500,000 home is roughly $2,500 per year. That's a really good number to work with. And step number 3, consider the total picture. Utah ranks 14th nationally for overall tax burden. This is about 9.46% of your personal income once you combine all of the taxes. This is higher than Idaho at 7.54% and Wyoming at 5.79%, but it's lower than many of the coastal states, especially California. If you're retiring to Utah, plan for the Social Security taxation. Be prepared, know your numbers, research if you qualify for those credits that I talked about, and consider that the low property taxes oftentimes offset income impacts, so keep that in mind for sure. And there's no estate or inheritance tax here as well, which is a big benefit for wealth transfer. So why does all of this matter? Well, here's the bottom line on taxes. Utah isn't a no tax haven like Texas or Florida, but it's not California either. The Tax Foundation ranks Utah 16th nationally for tax competitiveness, meaning the structure is business friendly and relatively efficient. For most working professionals under 65, the combination of flat income tax and low property tax creates a favorable environment. For retirees, it requires more planning because of Social Security taxation. The key is this: don't assume, calculate your actual impact before you make the move or decision to make the move here. Now you understand what you'll pay, but where you live changes everything, not just financially, but for your entire quality of life. And Utah has some dramatically different options depending on what you actually want from your life here. So let's break down the different cities in Utah and kind of paint that picture for you. Choosing the wrong city in Utah to live in is like buying the wrong car. Technically, it'll get you there, but you'll hate the experience. Let me give you the honest breakdown of each major area so that you can match your priorities to the right location. Okay, first up is Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. The vibe here is urban sophistication meets mountain access. This is the most cosmopolitan option here in Utah. And who's it for? It's for young professionals wanting nightlife and culture and everything that the city provides. It's also great for tech workers needing networking opportunities and those who want walkability and dining options. And so what are the numbers? The median home price in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area is just over $587,000, and the average rent is just about $1,800 per month. The commute to the ski resorts is going to be roughly 20 to 30, maybe 40 minutes depending on which resort you're going to. And the job market here, well, it's the strongest in the entire state. But what are the trade-offs? Well, housing prices are higher. Winter inversions create that periodic air quality issue that we all dread, and parking downtown is challenging. Traffic has increased significantly over the last handful of years, and the best neighborhoods in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area, in my opinion, include areas within Salt Lake City proper, like the Avenues or Sugar House or Mill Creek or Holiday, which is where I'm at right now, or if you move just a little bit to the south of the valley in Draper or Sandy, or where I personally live in South Jordan and specifically Daybreak. These are some of the best places to live in the Salt Lake City metropolitan area, and there's a lot of nuance from one area to another. And so if you want that trendy, walkable neighborhood, Sugar House could be at the top of your list. If you want that historic character of the oldest homes in the state, the Avenues is your place. And if you want the urban environment, downtown could be phenomenal. But if you want those amazing sunset views over the valley, well, East Bench and Olympus Cove could be perfect for you. Okay, next up is Provo and Utah County. Okay, the vibe here is family-oriented tech hub. That's what it's all about. And of course, there's a BYU influence throughout the city of Provo as well. So who's it for? It's for families with children with excellent schools and tech workers if you want to live close to the Silicon Slopes, right there in the southern corridor through Draper and into Lehigh. This is a really good region to live in if you do work in tech. And it's also perfect for people relocating to Utah because, especially in the northern half of Utah County, that's where so many people have chosen to move to. And it's been the fastest growing area in this entire state of Utah. And because of that, you're likely going to find people just like you that have experienced the same thing. And I always say, I think it's really good when you can connect with people in your neighborhood that have experienced the same thing that you have, because it really creates a new dynamic and you get to build a new community and not feel like you're being left out. Additionally, this area is awesome if you're budget conscious and you're wanting to buy a new construction home. You get a lot more for the money with new construction in Utah County than you would in Salt Lake County. So let's talk about the numbers. It's more affordable than Salt Lake, it's got strong job growth in tech, and it's got a lot of newer developments like Daybreak nearby, and it's got great access to both Salt Lake City and southern Utah. And here's the trade-offs. You're going to have less nightlife and dining variety in Utah County than you will in Salt Lake County. You can feel like the neighborhoods are a little homogenous. In other words, some neighborhoods are going to feel like everybody's kind of set in their ways because everybody's from Utah, and you might want to experience that to make sure that it's the right place for you before you move there. Also, especially to the north and to the southern portions of Utah County, they are experiencing growing pains with the rapid development that's been happening. Okay, next up, let's talk about Ogden to the north of Salt Lake City. The vibe here is affordable, historic, and it's got an emerging art scene. It has blue-collar roots with revitalization. That's the best way to describe Ogden. So who's it for? It's for budget-conscious buyers, outdoor enthusiasts if you want to be close to Snow Basin and Powder Mountain. In fact, Snow Basin is the top-rated ski resort in the entire country, and it's right there in your backyard. Also, it's for those that are wanting more diversity, remote workers who don't need to be in Salt Lake City or close to it. And here's the numbers. It is significantly more affordable, especially with housing, than Salt Lake City. And it has a lower cost of living overall. So what are the trade-offs? Well, it's farther from major employers, it's farther from Salt Lake City as well, and it's got a less polished infrastructure. And those winter commutes at times can be challenging. Okay, next up, let's talk about St. George in southern Utah. Now, the vibe here is desert oasis and resort style living. And for many, this is the top retirement destination with that really beautiful warm climate surrounded by palm trees and year-round golf. It's a great place to get away or to retire to if that's the phase of life you're in. And look, it's not just for the snowbirds and the retirees that are trying to get some sun in a different, warmer climate. It's also for golfers with world-class golfing. It's one of those amazing places to live and visit if you're really into golf. It's also perfect for those outdoor lovers with Zion National Park, our #1 visited national park right there in your backyard. Now, St. George and this region is growing rapidly. And yes, it does have a lot more affordable homes than Salt Lake City, but there are also $10 million homes. So there's a real dichotomy between the high-end homes and the average homes. But the real big trade-off here is you have to be okay with that intense summer heat in St. George. This is the one place in the state where you're going to have to get used to 100+ degree temperatures, and there are many days in the summertime where it breaks over 110 degrees. And one of the biggest negatives of the St. George area is the job market. Most people moving here have either already made their money or they've already got a career path where they don't have to be in the location where they need to make their money. So it's one of those things that you have to really take into consideration, despite the fact that there are industries that are really up and coming and booming in St. George, like healthcare. They're really developing well, but you have to be mindful with respect to jobs if you're looking to move to St. George. And another negative, well, it might be negative for some and not for others, it's about 4 hours away from Salt Lake City. So it can be quite a drive to get into the capital city, but you have Las Vegas, which is closer. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you want that proximity to the city and the Salt Lake City International Airport, it's going to be likely too far for you to really be able to take advantage of that on a regular basis. Okay, next up, it's Park City. The vibe here is world-class resort living, and of course, it's the skiing and the outdoor lifestyle, summer and winter. It's wealth and recreation. So who's it for? It's for ski enthusiasts with means, with money, with a lot of opportunities. It's also for remote workers with really high incomes and those wanting small town mountain culture. It's also great for second home buyers or vacation home buyers. And here's the numbers. The median home price in this area is north of $2 million for the most part, so you've got to be well prepared to be able to afford to live here. The premium pricing is on everything here. It is 35 minutes to Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake City International Airport, but it's also got world-class ski resorts in Deer Valley and Park City Mountain Resort. And so what are the trade-offs if you're living in the Park City area? Well, number one is cost. It's just purely expensive. And it can also get quite crowded during the peak ski season and other events that might be taking place. Right now, we're just finishing up Sundance, which is the last year that Sundance Film Festival will be held here in Park City. So we'll see how this plays out over the coming years, but it does get busy at certain times of the year, depending on the attractions. Additionally, it does have that tourist town dynamic and feel and a lot of energy, and that may or may not be your cup of tea. And you're definitely going to have to get used to that winter driving, as you'll be regularly taking drives down into Salt Lake City back and forth, and you're going to have to get comfortable with driving in the snow. Okay, next up, I want to talk about emerging options here in the state of Utah. Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs are booming for growth. They're the fastest growing affordable options out there, and new construction is off the charts. It does have a longer commute trade-off, and it's great for young families, but it is a hotspot in the state of Utah. Next, we have the Heber Valley, including Heber City and Midway and the other small towns around it. This is kind of like Park City 2.0. It's got that lifestyle at a much lower price point. And while Heber is growing really rapidly, it's got that beautiful mountain setting that everybody is looking for. It also has limited amenities currently, but it's going to be growing as the years progress. And another area I just love talking about and touching on is Alpine, which is in the northern portion, the northern corner of Utah County, and it's just tucked right into the Wasatch Mountains there. It's beautiful, it's perfect for luxury and privacy, and it's got that stunning mountain setting with, of course, premium pricing and that family-friendly environment. All right, so now you know where to look, but here's where I get real with you about Utah. There are things that tourism boards and real estate websites simply won't tell you, and these hidden factors have made or broken moves for people I know personally. And this is the part where I talk about what they don't tell you. This section might be the most important few minutes of this entire video. These are the factors that determine whether you'll love Utah or leave frustrated within just a few short years. Number one is the cultural reality. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the LDS or Mormon culture here. Here's the facts. Utah's approximately 50 to 60% LDS. This varies dramatically by area. For example, Salt Lake County is closer to 40%, and Utah County around Provo is much higher. It's much more diverse in some areas versus others, but you really have to take this into account to make sure that you're finding the right place for you. And so what does this actually mean? Social circles can form around church membership. We want to make sure that you're getting into an area that you can truly assimilate into and make this place your new home. Now, while people of the LDS faith are some of the friendliest people you'll ever meet, you also want to make sure that you're getting into an area where you can actually identify with people that are more similar to you too, because in my opinion, your vibe also attracts your tribe, and you really need to find your tribe when you move here, just like anywhere else. Next up is the funny alcohol laws here. They're just different here. We have state-run liquor stores and beer regulations and different rules around bars and clubs. It's just very different here. So it does take just a little bit of getting used to. And because of the religious influence and the family-oriented culture here, Sundays are generally pretty quiet around here, and a lot of businesses, well, they're closed. And based on the feedback from a lot of people and a lot of things I've been reading about people who have made this move, sometimes neighbors may be incredibly friendly, but the social integration aspect can take a little bit longer if you're not part of the LDS faith, unless, of course, you move into a neighborhood where everybody else is kind of in the same boat, where a lot of people have moved here. And here's the nuanced truth. This is not a deal breaker for most people. Many non-LDS residents thrive here. They love it here. Salt Lake City specifically has very strong communities where I've never met somebody who's moved here and thought that they felt like they were left out. And what it boils down to is it's about choosing the right area for your comfort level. My recommendation is this: visit before committing, spend time in the specific neighborhoods you're considering, and talk to people. Get a feel for the culture firsthand. This is just the best way to go about it. Okay, Okay, next up, let's talk about weather and air quality. Utah weather is not just cold winters and nice summers. The inversions kick in the wintertime. We've talked about that in numerous videos, and they can really impact your daily life here. The Salt Lake Valley experiences winter temperature inversions, as does the entire Wasatch Front and Cache Valley. Cold air gets trapped underneath the warmer air, and the pollution begins to concentrate, and until the next storm front comes through, it really gets stuck here. And sometimes these inversions can last many days and even more than a week or two. And while the average is 14 to 17 days per year, some years are far worse than others. And so what does this mean? It means air quality can reach unhealthy levels. This affects those with respiratory conditions more severely than others, and the reality check is this. This happens primarily in between January and February, but it can start trickling in December, a little bit earlier on in the season as well. And some years are just worse than others. And living higher up along the benches can really reduce your exposure. It's certainly a trade-off for those other 10 months of the year that are just absolutely amazing here. It's something that you have to take note of and be prepared for. And next, summer considerations. Salt Lake City and the Salt Lake City metropolitan area can be pretty hot in the summertime, but also dry. So the 90s is a typical temperature range for the Salt Lake City metropolitan area or the Wasatch Front. But if you move south into St. George, it gets very hot. 100 plus degree temperatures every single day, oftentimes exceeding 110 degrees. But if you live in the mountains, you have perfect summer escapes. This is beautiful, but you also get a little bit of those risks with respect to wildfires that can occasionally impact the air quality as well. So when you move here, what to do? Download air quality apps if respiratory health is a concern for you. Factor this into your city choice. And of course, living near the mountains equals better air. If you're up higher, you get the better, cleaner air. And for me personally, I don't live in the mountains. I live down in the valley, right in the metropolitan area. And for me, the best thing to deal with these inversion periods in January and February is to plan workarounds. Go skiing, go adventuring throughout the state of Utah, get out of the valley, or go down to St. George for a few days, or just plan a vacation. It's a great time to do that, and it gives you something to really look forward to make that impact of those couple of months less negative. Utah is growing fast, and that cuts both ways. So here's the positives. Job opportunities are expanding, infrastructure is improving, and there's more dining and entertainment options arriving all the time. Also, with that growth comes home appreciation potential. The challenges, well, it's increasing traffic. It's noticeably busier here than it was in the past, and housing prices are rising, although they have stabilized over these last few years. Also, the popular outdoor areas, well, they're starting to get a little more crowded, and locals versus newcomers tension exists in some areas. And water concerns are real. The Great Salt Lake is critical. We've got to make sure that we restore the levels of the Great Salt Lake so that we can actually continue living here. Also, there's drought considerations and water conservation. And of course, we have the outdoor access reality. Yes, Utah has incredible recreation. No, you won't have it to yourself because everybody else likes it too. The popular trailheads do get crowded on the weekends. Ski resorts can get packed on holidays and powder days. And the solution is this: go midweek, explore lesser known hotspots, or accept the crowds if that's where you want to be. And so here's my honest take. Utah isn't perfect. No place is. But the people who love Utah are those who, number one, value outdoor access over nightlife variety. And it's those that prioritize career opportunities in growing industries, and those that accept cultural differences as part of a bigger picture. And if you're willing to adapt and build community here, it's amazing. On the flip side, the people who leave frustrated, they expected California diversity in a different package. That's not Utah. And they didn't research neighborhoods specifically to make sure that it was the right fit for them. And it's also those that underestimated the winter realities, including those inversions, and choose a location based solely on price. You now have the information to make sure that you're in the first group and not the second. So let's recap what we've covered so far. Utah's cost of living is actually below the national average. It's shocking, but location choice is everything here in Utah. The job market is one of the strongest in the country, especially for tech, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, and other industries. Taxes are reasonable with some caveats that are certainly the case for retirees, and each city offers a dramatically different lifestyle. And matching your priorities to location is absolutely critical. There are real challenges here: cultural adjustment, air quality concerns, concerns, water, and growth-related pressures, including traffic, and now you have a complete picture to execute your move here. And remember what I promised in the beginning. I said I'd give you a decision framework, not a brochure. Now you have everything you need to know if Utah's actually right for you. If it is, you're moving to a state with stunning natural beauty, genuine career opportunities, wonderful people, and a quality of life that millions of people are actively choosing. If the honest realities I shared made you hesitate, well, that's valuable too. It gives you clarity. It's better to know now than to learn the hard way after you've moved. Now, if you want to take this to the next level, reach out to me. Let's get the conversation started. My team and I are here to be your real estate resource of choice. Please reach out to us. We love talking to people just like you making that move. And if this is the type of content that helps you, please hit that subscribe button. It will help you as you'll stay in touch with all of the videos that I'm putting out regarding making the move to or within the state of Utah. And hey, if this video gave you clarity on your decision, do me a favor, hit that like button. It does help me out as well selfishly. And if you're looking to learn more about life in Utah, make sure you check out these videos next. And until the next video, thanks.